The Chilean mountains, majestic, forbidding. A place where the raw power of nature is always on display, ready to test anyone who dares to venture into its embrace. For Peng Yujiang, a paraglider with 4 years under his belt, it was supposed to be a routine equipment test in May 2025. He launched, expecting the familiar dance with the winds, the thrill of controlled flight. But the sky, sometimes a gentle giant, can turn into a raging beast without warning. Peng, at a seemingly safe 3,000 meters, was about to learn this lesson in the harshest way imaginable. What started as a simple check of his gear would soon become a desperate fight for his very life. An ordeal that would push him to the absolute limits of human endurance and beyond, really. High-altitude environments are no joke, mate. One minute you are enjoying the view, the next you are in a world of hurt. The air up there is different, thinner, and the weather can shift in an instant, catching even experienced adventurers off guard. Peng was no novice. He was a B-level certified paraglider. He understood the risks, or so he thought. But what awaited him was something beyond the scope of ordinary hazards. A peculiar, terrifying weather phenomenon was lurking, unseen, a trap set by the atmosphere itself. This was not just a strong gust of wind, this was a force of nature with an almost malevolent intent, ready to snatch him from his intended path and hurl him into the unknown. The mountains watched, silent witnesses to the drama unfolding. This invisible monster is known as cloud suck. It's a rare but incredibly dangerous updraft, usually found within the belly of a massive cumulonimbus cloud, a thunderhead. These clouds are like vertical chimneys, sucking air, moisture, and anything caught in their path, upwards with terrifying speed and power. Imagine being a tiny speck, a leaf, caught in a colossal vacuum cleaner. There's no fighting it, no escape. It just pulls you in, relentlessly, dragging you higher and higher into the freezing, oxygen-starved altitudes where humans simply are not meant to be. This is what grabbed Peng Yujiang, a violent, inescapable pull towards the heavens, an ascent he never asked for, a journey into the very heart of the storm. The ascent was brutally fast. One moment, Peng was managing his glider, the familiar feel of the controls in his hands. The next, he was a passenger, rocketing skyward at an alarming rate. From 3,000 meters he was propelled upwards, deeper and deeper into the swirling, chaotic mass of the cloud. Disorientation would have been instant. The world outside his canopy would have vanished, replaced by a blinding, turbulent white. Panic must have set in, a primal fear. He was no longer in control. He was at the mercy of the storm, a tiny human figure being dragged to an altitude where the air is too thin to breathe and the cold is a deadly enemy, an unforgiving, brutal force. Imagine being thrust to over 8,500 meters, that's nearly 28,000 feet. We call this the death zone for a reason. It's the cruising altitude of a jetliner, a place where the human body simply cannot function for long without specialized equipment, without supplemental oxygen. Peng had none of that. He was in his paragliding gear, prepared for a short flight, not an assault on the upper troposphere. The sheer shock of reaching such an altitude, exposed and vulnerable, is hard to comprehend. He was higher than many of the world's tallest peaks, in an environment utterly hostile to life. The air pressure plummets, the oxygen molecules become scarce, and survival becomes a minute-by-minute battle. Then comes the cold. At that height, inside a storm cloud, temperatures can plummet to an unimaginable -40 degrees Celsius or even colder. It's a savage, biting cold that seeps into your bones, that freezes exposed skin in seconds. Peng was battling this extreme cold, the kind that numbs your fingers, your toes, your very will to fight. Ice crystals would have been forming all over him, on his suit, his helmet, his glider. He was literally being encased in ice, a human icicle hurtling through the sky. His body would have been desperately trying to conserve heat, shivering violently, but against such an onslaught, it's a losing battle. Frostbite would have been a serious, immediate threat, and the oxygen, or rather the lack of it. Up there, the air is desperately thin. Each breath pulls in less and less of the life-giving oxygen your brain and body need to function. Hypoxia, oxygen starvation, would have set in quickly. The first signs are often subtle: confusion, impaired judgment, blurred vision. Peng himself described his consciousness becoming blurred. It's a silent killer, creeping up on you, making you feel detached, sometimes even euphoric before it shuts you down completely. He was fighting to stay awake, to think clearly, while his brain was being starved of essential fuel. It's a terrifying state where your own mind starts to betray you in the struggle. The physical torment would have been immense. Beyond the cold and lack of oxygen, he was inside a raging cumulonimbus cloud. These are not gentle, fluffy things. They are cauldrons of violent air currents, hail and lightning. His glider, his only means of control, would have been thrashed about, subjected to incredible stresses. He mentioned being covered in ice crystals. Imagine the weight, the impaired aerodynamics. He was fighting the elements, fighting his own failing body, fighting to maintain some semblance of control over his paraglider, which was his only fragile link to potential survival in this frozen, chaotic hell. The storm was trying to break him, physically and mentally, minute by agonizing minute. Peng described his world inside that cloud as utterly disorienting. Everything was white, he recounted. Imagine it, mate. No horizon, no landmarks, just a blinding, swirling whiteness in every direction. He couldn't see which way was up, which way was down. He said, without the compass, I wouldn't have known which way I was going. Even with a compass, the feeling of being lost in that maelstrom, spinning and tumbling, must have been terrifying. He thought he was flying straight, but in reality, he was likely being tossed around like a rag doll, a prisoner of the storm's fury. This sensory deprivation, combined with the physical assaults, takes a huge toll on your mental state. The fight to stay conscious was perhaps his greatest battle. With oxygen levels critically low and the extreme cold taking its toll, Peng experienced temporary comas. He was fading in and out of consciousness, teetering on the very brink. Each time he slipped away, it could have been the last. But something inside him, that primal survival instinct, kept pulling him back. It's incredible, this deep-seated will to live that can surface in the most dire circumstances. He knew, even in his blurred state, that if he lost consciousness completely, if he gave in, it would be over. So he fought moment by moment to cling to that fragile thread of awareness. Despite the terrifying conditions and his fading consciousness, Peng remarkably managed to maintain some control of his glider for over an hour. This is a testament to his experience, his training, but more than that, his sheer grit. He also managed to communicate via radio with his ground team. That radio link, however tenuous, would have been a vital psychological lifeline. Knowing someone out there knew his plight, was trying to help, can give you that extra ounce of strength to keep going. He wasn't just a passive victim, he was an active participant in his own survival, making decisions, fighting back against the overwhelming odds stacked against him. This was pure human endurance on display, over an hour spent in that death zone battling forces that should have overwhelmed him in minutes. It's about drawing on reserves you don't even know you have. When your body is screaming to give up, when your mind is clouded and confused, some deeper part of you can take over. It's that refusal to quit, that stubborn spark of life. Peng's struggle highlights the incredible resilience of the human spirit when faced with the ultimate test. He was alone up there, in the heart of the storm, but he found the strength within himself to keep fighting for every precious second of life. Eventually, after what must have felt like an eternity trapped in that icy, oxygen-starved prison, Peng Yujiang emerged from the monstrous cloud. Imagine that moment. The blinding white finally giving way, perhaps to a glimpse of blue sky or the distant earth below. The relief must have been overwhelming, a surge of hope in the face of utter despair. He was still incredibly high, still freezing, still struggling, but he was out of the storm's core. He could see, he could orient himself. The battle wasn't over, but a crucial victory had been won. He now had a chance, a slim chance, to guide his battered glider towards safety. He managed to land, incredibly, about 30 kilometers from where his ordeal began, near Chifeng town. He was safe, alive, against all odds. Think about that. After being sucked up to 28,000 feet, enduring conditions that would kill most people in minutes, he flew his paraglider to a safe landing. The news of his survival quickly spread, hailed as miraculous by fellow paragliders and adventure sports enthusiasts around the world. And it truly was. This wasn't just luck. It was a combination of skill, an incredible will to live, and perhaps a touch of something unexplainable that allows certain individuals to walk away from situations that seem utterly unsurvivable. Peng's story immediately brings to mind other incredible tales of survival at extreme altitudes. In 2007, German paraglider Ewa Wisniewska was sucked into a storm front to nearly 10,000 meters and survived, though a fellow pilot in the same storm tragically did not. These events are rare, but they serve as stark reminders of the unpredictable power of nature and the astonishing limits of human endurance. Peng, like Wisniewska, beat the death zone. He faced the abyss and somehow found his way back. These stories captivate us because they show us what we, as humans, are capable of when pushed to the absolute edge. However, the aftermath of Peng Yujiang's incredible survival also brought a dose of reality. His flight was unauthorized, he hadn't filed the necessary flight plans or obtained airspace clearance. As a result, Chinese authorities investigated and handed him a 6-month flight suspension. It's a reminder that even in the pursuit of adventure, rules and safety protocols are there for a reason. Peng himself stated he would take a break from flying, no doubt deeply affected by his terrifying brush with death. His ordeal, while a testament to human resilience, also underscores the inherent dangers of high-altitude paragliding and the profound respect one must have for the untamed forces of the sky.
So hit that subscribe and ring that bell too, for history's wonders waiting for you. Billy at Works, let the knowledge ignite, exploring the past with all of our might.